What's going on, everybody? It's your boy Gage. Welcome to the channel. Today, I am very ecstatic to be showing off my Sylvan deck profile from the 2014 hat format era of the Yu-Gi-Oh! Trading card game. Hat standing for Hand Artifact Trap Tricks, which was the premier deck in the format of that time period. And in my opinion, this is a fantastic retro format to be able to revisit. It is a premier format to be able to play some really strong Xyz monsters, so it's a nice Xyz format, and is a nice middle ground in power level. There's nothing that's too insane. There are certain cards in the format that are very powerful, but nothing that there is no deck that's necessarily so dominating that it is, unbeatable. I think that every deck in the format has at least a chance to be able to play and to win. And Sylvan is very much one of the stronger decks in the format. It is also looked at as one of the most complicated, so I am going to do my best to be able to explain the cards. Even with a lot of time with practice, I still feel as though it is even too big brain for me in certain instances. So it definitely requires a lot of practice, but it is very rewarding. So I definitely encourage it for those types of players that really do want a challenge. So before I hop into the profile, please remember to like, comment, and subscribe, and let's go ahead and take a trip down memory lane. So I'm going to start off with the Sylvan monsters. So we are playing 3 copies of Sylvan Hermit Tree, which is just a fantastic card for the deck. It is a level 8 plant that says once per turn you can excavate the top card of the deck, and if it's a plant, you can send it to the grave and draw a card. So the whole premise of the deck, and this is actually one of the first decks that actually has an entire archetype that is centered around the excavation. So it basically means looking at the top card of the deck and then fulfilling some sort of effect. So the fact that the Hermitry has a built-in ability to excavate the top card of the deck and then drawing a card if it's a plant is really nice, because it will trigger whatever that card is that, has an excavation effect. And then also you can draw a card. And because of the fact that we have a field spell that allows us to stack the deck, we also have a spell card that also allows us to stack the deck. So there are going to be many, many times in which we know what's going to be on top of the deck already, meaning that we have an advantage in terms of setting up our Hermitry in guaranteeing that we get that excavation effect off and drawing a card. So the Hermitry also has an effect for when it is itself excavated, being that it allows you to look at the top 3 cards of the deck and place them back at the top in any order. So again, this makes it so that any of the cards that allow you to do some excavation by being able to stack the top of the deck in any way that you choose, it guarantees that you are going to be able to get what you need. So Hermitry is solid. We're playing 3 copies because, we want to be able to have it excavated as frequently as possible and to be able to have as many copies as possible for us to be able to special summon off of something like a Soul Charge, for example. We're playing a suite of really strong rank 8 monsters, and Hermitry is going to be one of the main ways that you get into them. So definitely want to play 3 copies in your build. And for the next best thing, we're also playing 3 copies of Sylvan Sage Koya. It has an effect where you have the ability to, once per turn, excavate the top card of your deck. If it's a plant monster, send it to the graveyard. So basically being able to get a trigger off of a excavation. The other effect is that if it's excavated itself, you can actually target one Sylvan Speller Trap in your grave and add it back to your hand. So that allows you to recycle some of your broken spells, such as your Sylvan Charity, and getting it back into your hand. So we are playing 3 copies. Again, you want to see it as quickly as possible. It does also have another effect where it can actually special summon itself, because when a Sylvan monster is sent to the graveyard, except during the damage step, so this could either be through excavation, this could be through if your opponent ends up, destroying it in some way, shape, or form, by card effect or something of the like. Can't be during the damage step, but, you then have the ability to special summon itself from the hand, which is a very nice consolation prize. A lot of the times you're going to be able to get that effect off yourself because you are doing so much excavating. So Sage Sage Koya is a level 7, and so we do play a suite of really strong level 7 Xyz monsters. So yeah, you definitely want to play 3 copies of all the best Sylvans to take advantage of the fact that they have really strong excavation effects. We are also playing 2 copies of Sylvan Komashrumo. So this is actually one of the slower cards in the deck, which is why we're not playing it at 3 copies, but it has 2 solid effects nonetheless. First off, when it's flipped face up, you can choose a number from 1 to 5. Most of the time, you're going to go for up to 5. And then you can excavate that many cards from the top of your deck and send any excavated plants to the grave, and then place the rest of the cards on the bottom of the deck in any order. So this is nice. Obviously, you have the ability to, kind of stack the deck in many different ways, meaning that you are going to be able to guarantee that you get the Komashrumo's effect off. And the fact that it has a 2,000 defense is actually kind of relevant. There's going to be some monsters that might not be able to actually attack into it. So that's nice. It's nice that it just kind of has a really nice booty to be able to protect itself so that it can continue to stick around. And if it itself is excavated, you can actually target a spell or trap on the field and destroy it. So that's really nice for being able to get rid of your opponent's field spells, continuous spells, maybe some set trap cards that they might have. So yeah, you want to be able to make sure that you have some options at your disposal for being able to get rid of, things like, certain types of floodgates. So Komashrumo is nice in the deck for facilitating the excavation, as well as being there for some spell and trap removal. We're also playing 2 copies of Sylvan Martial Leaf. This has the effect where if it's normal summoned, you could choose 1 or 2. Most of the time it's going to be 2. And then excavate that many cards from the top of the deck. Send any excavated plant monsters to the grave. Also place the others at the bottom of the deck in any order. If its card itself is excavated, you can send this card and send to the graveyard. You can target 1 monster on the field and destroy it. So just really nice all around. A lot of the times you don't necessarily want to have to waste your normal summon on him. He is kind of considered one of the weaker normal summons of the deck. But just being able to have an option for being able to get additional disruption for your opponent's monsters is really nice. So yeah, I think that Martial Leaf is just a kind of a nice addition to the deck. We're also playing some really nice level 3s in the deck, so that even if you do need to kind of utilize him for an Xyz play, you have the ability to do so. We're also playing 2 copies of Sylvan Princess Sprout. So this is the last Sylvan main deck monster that we are playing, and it has really good effects. So the first is that you contribute it to excavate the top card of the deck, send it to the grave, and then you can place a Sprout monster from your graveyard on the top of your deck. So this does mean that you are able to, kind of tribute it, and then you can place a Sprout monster from the grave on the top of your deck, including itself. So, there's some nice synergy there. And if it itself is excavated from the deck and sent to the graveyard, you can declare a level from 1 to 8, and then special summon this card from the grave, and it becomes that level. So, really, really nice for being able to help, give you access to an Xyz play on the fly because of the fact that it lets you just choose from any number between 1 through 8. So that's very versatile. So yeah, Sylvan Princess Sprout is just a fine addition to the deck. So you definitely want to play 2 copies. And just for a really solid plant monster, we are playing Spore. It is a level 1 tuner that says if it's in the grave, you can banish 1 other plant-type monster from your grave, special summon this card from your grave, and increase its level by the level of that banished monster. So this can be really nice. I mean, you don't necessarily have to use the banish effect. You could also just, if you do have access to your normal summon, just kind of normal summon it on top of something like your Sage Koya to go for a Synchro 8 play, which we are playing a suite of options for that. But you also can special summon this off of Soul Charge. There are many different ways in which you can utilize its effect without necessarily having to banish something. So yeah, Spore is just a solid addition to the deck because it is a plant that gives you access to Synchro plays. And of course, if we are playing plants, we do have to play one of the most broken plants, and that is Lone Fire Blossom. Once per turn, you contribute this face-up plant-type monster to special summon a plant-type monster from the deck. Pretty self-explanatory. This pretty much means that you are able to get access to any of your Sylvan monsters. This also means that you can get into itself, so that if you do Lone Fire into something else, and you do have access to Soul Charge, you could just Soul Charge both of these back and then do it again, use their effects again to get even more plants onto the field. So honestly, it can be pretty disgusting, the plays that you can do once you have Soul Charge live with this, with 1 or 2 Lone Fires in the graveyard. Just fantastic card. Really is the glue that can kind of grab it. Anything that you need and kind of hold the deck together. So definitely have to play Lone Fire in a plant-based deck. So kind of an honorary Sylvan monster, I'm choosing to play 2 copies of Rose Archer. It says during either player's turn, when your opponent activates a trap while you control a plant, you can send this from the hand to the grave to the gate and destroy it. Just nice. You really don't want to. You're a combo deck, so you want to make sure that your plays are going through. So Rose Archer is just kind of a nice hand trap to have at your disposal to make it so that if you end up going into summoning a plant and your opponent tries to maybe negate it with a breakthrough skill or tries to use bottomless or something along those lines, it's nice to have an insurance policy with the Rose Archer. The only thing that kind of sucks is that it's a warrior, but other than that, it's fine. It would probably be broken if it was considered a plant. And then just for attack, I'm also choosing to play 3 copies of Curry Bandit, mostly because of the fact that it does give you the ability to excavate. So it says during the end phase, if it was normal summon this turn, you could tribute this card, excavate the top 5 cards of the deck, and then add an excavated spell or trap from the deck to your from among those cards that were excavated to the hand, and then you send the rest to the grave. So that's just incredible. We're playing a lot of really good spells and traps in this deck, and then of course you are going to be triggering a bunch of your Sylvan monsters that are excavated as well. So Curry Bandit has a nice home in this deck. It's one of those cards where you could certainly get away without it, or maybe even just cutting. But I just kind of like it because you're not always going to have access to the crazy combo. So I like being able to see it in my opening hand, just in case if it's a turn 1 and I'm getting a bit of a slower start. So Curry Bandit kind of just, helps to get things going. And then I'm also choosing to play 2 copies of Effect Veiler. I'm kind of indifferent about Effect Veiler. This can definitely be, other copies of other cards, that I'm playing in the side deck. It could easily be things like MSTs, Maxis, things like that. Even though it might not be as powerful in this format, I do think that it is worth just teching because of the fact that no matter what, your opponent is going to be playing some type of monster that has some type of effect. So being able to slow them down to make it so that, if they're trying to go for a monster that might be removing one of the monsters that you have in play, or, if they're trying to combo off themselves, sometimes this disruption is something that they are not anticipating. That and the fact that it's a level 1 tuner in a pinch makes it so that you can also use it to go for synchro plays. I like it. One of the things is that, and we'll discuss it more when we go into Sylvan Charity, is that there's a lot of the times where you're just, you're drawing through a bunch of cards, and we're playing a lot of cards that are also just kind of hard ones per turn. So, because of the fact that we are churning through the deck as much as we are, it's nice to be able to draw into cards that, you have additional utility. So I do think that Veiler is just nice, but I can certainly see it being swapped out for other things. It really just kind of depends on the meta, the other types of decks that you're playing and things like that. But I've been liking it so far. So that is it for the main deck monsters. Quite a bit, obviously, since we're playing a deck that kind of requires, excavation of certain types of monsters. You want to max out on those cards so that you have the highest probability of excavating. So hopping into the spells, we are playing 2 copies of the Sylvan field spell, Mount Sylvania, as well as 2 terraforming. So I've seen this ratio in a lot of builds, and I do agree it just kind of feels right. The fact that you could play a 3rd Mount Sylvania, but it's just nice having the terraforming because it kind of thins the deck out that much more. Mount Sylvania is actually so busted for the deck because it allows you to send a plant monster from your hand or face-up side of the field to the grave, choose a Sylvan card from your deck, and place it on the top of the deck. So that's what allows you to stack the deck so that you can pretty much guarantee that you know what's going to be hit. So that's really nice. And then you can also, during your opponent's end phase, excavate the top card of the deck. If it's a plant monster, send it to the grave. Otherwise, place it atop at the top or bottom of the deck. So even if you, on your turn, don't necessarily have a way to be able to take advantage of stacking the deck right on your own turn, on your opponent's end phase, assuming the Mount Sylvania is still alive by then, because your opponent is definitely going to be gunning to get rid of this as quickly as possible if they can. During your opponent's end phase, you could simply just trigger the end phase effect to excavate that card, and then you get access to whatever the card was that you chose to put on top. So Mount Sylvania is kind of the card that really helps to make it so that the excavation isn't as random. There are a lot of times where you could just go for a blind hermitry and just, hope for the best and, excavate a card. And if it's the card you need, great. If not, it is what it is. But it's really nice to be able to make it so that your plays are not as random, even though it might seem on the surface like that is the case. So 2 Terraforming and 2 Mount Sylvania is a sweet spot for me. I am playing 3 copies of one of the most broken spells in this era, and that is Sylvan Charity. So it has a busted effect where immediately you get to draw 3 cards. Then, if you have a Sylvan card in your hand, reveal 2 cards from your hand, and it has to include at least 1 Sylvan card and place them at the top of the deck in any order. Otherwise, if you don't end up putting a Sylvan back, you would have to reveal your entire hand and then place it at the top of the deck in any order, which is obviously less than ideal. We are playing a suite of Sylvan cards, so there is almost never going to be a chance in which that happens. You're almost always going to have a Sylvan card in your hand. It's not as if the card that you draw into the three cards that you draw into off its effect have to be a Sylvan. As long as any card in your hand is a Sylvan, you could go ahead and use its effect to kind of put that card back on the top. So again, it makes it so that not only are you getting some draw power, but you are also kind of seeing the future to make it so that your excavations are meaningful. So Sylvan Charity is just fantastic. It's also one of the cards that you're going to be adding back off of the Sage Koya if it ends up getting excavated, which means that you are going to be churning through your deck very, very quickly. And so, yeah, you definitely want to max out on 3 copies here. And of course, we are playing 3 copies of kind of the signature spell card of the format, and that's Soul Charge. Sylvan is one of the decks that can actually take advantage of this card the most. It is easily one of the strongest Soul Charge decks in the game, mostly because of the fact that we are able to get so many monsters in the graveyard, specifically our Lone Fire blossoms. It simply says you could target any number of monsters in the grave, special summon them, and if you do, you lose 1,000 life for each one special summoned by its effect. You lose your battle phase, but who cares, because of the fact that you are going to be getting so much advantage from the monsters that you're going to be bringing back. Like I said, as long as you have 2 Lone Fires in the grave, you pretty much have access to almost any rank play in the game. And because of the fact that we're playing so many broken level 7s, level 8s, it makes it so that, yeah, Soul Charge is just incredible. There are not always going to be times where you want to shotgun it. This is where the skill ceiling of the deck really comes into play, because you really do want to be careful of paying too many life points, especially if you are not able to end the game right then and there. So Soul Charge, it is obviously fantastic. It is busted in this deck in particular, so you have to play it at 3 copies. But yeah, it is definitely a card that rewards your practice of the deck. And of course, I'm playing 3 copies of Miracle Fertilizer. Kind of just, not as good Monster Reborn, because it does give you the option to, once per turn, target a plant type monster in the grave and special summon it. The issue is that you can't normal summon the same turn you use it. So it can conflict in certain instances in which maybe you have to go for a normal summon in order to get your plays going, such as a Lone Fire Blossom. But obviously, late game, just having access to a card that's once per turn that you could just constantly use to special summon your plant monsters back over and over again is really nice. So you do kind of have to play it. So yeah, I choose to play it at 3 copies because at the end of the day, it is pseudo Monster Reborn. And because you want to see as many of your cards as quickly as possible, specifically your Sylvan Charities, we are playing 3 copies of Upstart Goblin, essentially playing a 37-card deck. And for the last 2 cards in the main deck, I am playing 2 copies of Forbidden Lance, mostly because of that philosophy that I was discussing earlier with the Rose Archer, where you really want to make sure that, because you're a combo deck, your plays go through. And Forbidden Lance being able to make it so that you are unaffected by the effects of other spells and traps is really nice. So yeah, that's it for the main deck. Now to go over the extra deck. The first cards we're going to be going over are our level 7s. I'm choosing to play 2 copies of Aurea, the Sylvan High Arbiter. This reads like a custom card because it is. It requires 2 level 7s, so your Sage Koyas are going to be the ones you use to get into this. And then once per turn, you can send a plant from your hand or face up from your field to the grave. Look at the top number of cards. Look at the number of the cards from the top of your deck equal to the level of the monster that was sent from the hand or on the field. Place those cards on the top of the deck in any order. So just think about it in the best case scenario. You have a Hermitry in hand. You send it to the graveyard. You get to stack the deck for up to 8 cards because of the fact that the Hermitry is a level 8. So just keep that in mind, that you are going to be able to basically see the future and make it so that you can draw into whatever cards you need. You can excavate into whatever cards you need. And it sets it up for its also broken second ability, where you can straight up detach an Xyz material from this card, choose a number from 1 to 3, then excavate that many cards from the top of the deck, send any excavated plants to the grave, and if you do, return up to that many cards from the field to the hand, at least one, except this card. Also place the cards at the bottom of the deck in any order. This is insane. If you discard a Hermitry, you look at the top 8, there's going to be a very high probability that you are going to be seeing a bunch of Sylvan monsters there. You're going to stack those to the top. And as long as you have 3 there, you're able to non-target removal, so no destruction, just straight up being able to select 3 cards that your opponent controls and return them to the hand. And if they are extra deck monsters, they would go straight to the extra deck, so your opponent wouldn't even be getting those cards back. So Aurea is just a fantastic card. Obviously, it's really good for breaking boards, which is why Sylvan actually has a really good time going second because of cards like this, and it's able to get around cards that might normally protect themselves against targeting or destruction. So Aurea is just a solid boss monster for the deck, so I am choosing to play 2 copies. I'm also playing 1 copy of Mecha Phantom Beast Dracosac, a level 7, rank 7 Xyz monster that requires 2 level 7s. Once per turn, you could detach an Xyz material, special summon 2 Mecha Phantom Beast tokens, and while you control a token, it cannot be destroyed by battle or card effects. And then once per turn, you contribute a Mecha Phantom Beast monster, then target, which could be the tokens, then target a monster, 1 card on the field and destroy it. It cannot attack during the turn that you activate that effect, but that's just really, really solid. So yeah, I think that Dracosac is just a premier level 7 monster in the format. It is not only good to just be able to end on, because it could be kind of a pain in the ass for your opponent to deal with, but it could also be used to help break boards. So Dracosac is just a nice card to have. I'm also playing 1 copy of number 11 Big Eye. Once per turn, you can detach a material, take the target of monster your opponent controls, and take control of it. It cannot attack during the turn that you use that effect, but you can attack with the monster that you stole during the turn that you use that effect. So yeah, just really nice if you were able to go for a game shot and your opponent has something that might be worthwhile to take for yourself. So yeah, just a really solid rank 7. Back in the day. And then my tech, I'm also choosing to play number 74 Master of Blades. This is a level 7 that says during either player's turn, when a card or effect is activated that targets this face-up card, you could detach an Xyz material, negate the activation, and if you do destroy that card, then you could destroy a card on the field. So naturally, your opponent can play around this by simply not targeting. But there are certain decks in the format in which that is pretty much their only means of being able to get significant removal in being able to target. So I think that Master of Blades is kind of slept on. There are arguments for it being, if whether or not, Dracosac is just, going to always be the better one. It really just depends on if you already know what the deck is that you're going to be playing against, because it does just so happen to have better stats. So the Master of Blades being 27-23, whereas the Dracosac is 26-22. So like I said, it's just a tech. There are a lot of times where if I'm going first, I really do kind of feel underwhelmed just going for a Dracosac and want something with a little bit more staying power, and Master of Blades is certainly just a really nice option. And so that's it for the level 7s. Now for the level 8 monsters, we are playing 1 Divine Dragon Knight Felgrand, just an absolute house of a card. It's a rank 8 that says once per turn during either player's turn, you can detach a material, target a face-up monster on the field. This turn, its effects are negated, but it is unaffected by other card effects. And so you could either use that to target yourself to protect yourself from card effects. You could use that to target your opponent's monsters on their turn to be able to negate their effects. Honestly, just fantastic, very versatile, and being able to have effect negation on both your turn and your opponent's turn, as well as pseudo protection, is just fantastic to have. So yeah, one Divine Dragon Knight Felgrand, and yeah, the ultimate rare is just absolutely gorgeous. And then I'm playing one, I'll say, the Sylvan High Protector. It requires 2 level 8s, and once per turn you can declare a card name, excavate the top card, and if it is the declared card, you can add it to the hand, otherwise send it to the grave. So there's a lot of the times where you could just straight up blind call something and maybe you end up getting it right. A lot of the times you're going to want to make sure that if you do go for this play that you would have already used Sylvan Charity that turn or Mount Sylvania, whatever the case may be, so that you can guarantee it. However, either way, you can detach an Xyz material from this card, target a card on the field, place it on the top of the or bottom of the deck. So that's just really nice because, again, it gets around destruction-based removal. And that's what I really like about Sylvan is that it gets around a lot of the effects, the kind of protections that a lot of the boss monsters or just regular monsters in this era might have. So I'll say is also just, has a really high defense. So sometimes you could really be just used as a nice wall. So yeah, definitely like playing the one copy. The second copy really never comes up. I'm also playing one Hieratic Sun Dragon Overlord of Heliopolis, quite a handful. It requires 2 level 8s, and once per turn you can detach an Xyz material, tribute any number of monsters from your hand and or side of the field, and then destroy an equal number of cards on the field. So that's nice because it gets rid of the spells and traps as well as monsters, but it is also non-targeting. So that's a big thing is that, there are a lot of cards like Big Eye for whatever, for example, that just straight up target. So there are going to be, cards that are immune to that, and the Heliopolis kind of gets around that. So definitely want to tech at least one copy in those instances. It has come up for me. I'm also playing one copy of the number 15 Gimmick Puppet Giant Grinder. It requires 2 level 8s, and up to twice per turn during the main phase, you can detach a material from this card, target a special summon monster your opponent controls, destroy it, and if it's an Xyz monster, you inflict damage equal to its original attack. So just being able to know that you have access to a card that can burn your opponent for a game is really nice because it skips a lot of the steps of having to actually worry about, breaking your opponent's board or anything along those lines. If you recognize that the Xyz monsters that your opponent has at their disposal have high enough attack where and they have low enough life points, you can just straight up go for game. So pretty strong card there. And that's it for the rank 8s. So to quickly go over the rank 3s, I'm playing one Alucard. It has the ability where you can target a set card your opponent controls and destroy it. So just a solid card all around. We are also playing the one Mech-Quipped Engineer. Once per turn during either player's turn, you can detach a material, target a face-up attack position monster you control, and change it to face-down defense position. And if you do, it can't be destroyed by battle or card effects. So just nice to be able to protect your own cards in the event that you recognize that your opponent is going to be able to destroy it in one way, shape, or form. I'm also just choosing to tech Leviathan Dragon, mostly because I think it's just a really cool card, but it also is able to get to a pretty high stat line by being able to detach one material to be able to gain 500. I've seen some builds play Leviair, which is nice because it does allow you to recycle any of the level 4 lowers that are banished. I feel like it doesn't come up too often for me, but it is certainly a card that you can play in place of the Leviathan, but I value the high attack stat over the utility of potentially being able to get back a level 4 lower from the banished. And so that's it for the Xyz monsters. Now to round things out with the Synchros, I am playing the Stardust Spark as well as the Stardust Dragon. This is really good for being able to kind of have singular protection, whereas Stardust is really good for mass protection of your board. So this is much better at being able to protect, say, if you want to protect your field spell, or if you are going into Rivalry of Warlords and you want to be able to protect your Floodgate, then Spark Dragon in that instance is going to be a lot better. So it really just kind of depends on what you're looking to protect. And then I am teching the one Leo, Keeper of the Sacred Tree. Just if you're able to go into it, it is a solid stat that allows you to essentially protect it from being targeted by your opponent's card effects. So just really strong. So guys, I'm going to quickly go over the side deck. This is by no means refined, but just kind of what I'm playing with at the moment. I am choosing to play 3 copies of Max C. Obviously, not every deck in the format is special summoning a lot, so you really just kind of want to side this in when you know that you're going up against a deck in which this can severely hinder their plays. Worst case, if you need to, it could just end up being like a pseudo upstart goblin, or just as a means of being able to prevent your opponent from extending too much. I'm also playing 3 copies of DD Crow. There's a lot of really strong graveyard cards in the format that you can special summon from the graveyard, so being able to snipe a soul charge target or things along those lines is just really solid. We're also playing 3 copies of Mystical Space Typhoon, just in case we are really worried about running into floodgates like Vanities or things of that nature. I'm also choosing to play 3 copies of Royal Decree because of the fact that we're not playing many trap cards ourselves. This could be really nice for being able to prevent our opponent from playing if they just so happen to be playing, a trap-based strategy themselves, or just teching in a bunch of trap cards to stop you. And then we are playing 3 copies of Rivalry of Warlords because of the fact that we are a mostly plant-based strategy. The Rivalry is really strong for us. And depending if your opponent is playing Hat, for example, this can mean that you severely limit their ability to play the game. So guys, thank you so much for taking the time to watch this video. If you played during this time period, hopefully it was just kind of a trip down memory lane. Or if you're just interested in this format, being able to kind of get some ideas for yourself can be really beneficial. So I do hope that you have learned something. Like I said, this is a this could be a very complicated deck. Definitely no doubts about that. But with a lot of practice, you could definitely pull off some really nutty combos, and it feels really satisfying when you do get those off. So that's going to be it from me. Thank you so much for watching. Please remember to like, comment, and subscribe if you're fans of content like this. And until next time, GG.